Now, the general weather around Alaska.
Greetings, everyone, and welcome to Alaska Weather. I'm meteorologist Peter Chan, coming to you from the National Weather Service in Alaska region on this Wednesday, December 3rd, 2025. And I have a number of things to talk about. Those of you who like cold weather, snowy weather, we have some very cold weather coming up across much of the mainland, and there could be some heftier snows across areas of the southeast. But tonight, we're getting a couple weak disturbances from the sun that could trigger some high latitude auroras. And tomorrow, Thursday, is the full cold moon of December, which will be living up to its name. The full cold moon will be filling the sky tonight and in through the day tomorrow. We have an active storm track that'll be moving from the North Pacific up into the Gulf and really affecting areas along the Gulf Coast, Panhandle, the intercoastal mountains. There is going to be a heavier prolonged snow event this weekend along the northeastern Gulf Coast into the Panhandle. That includes Yakutat. And just coming out now, the Juneau Forecast Office is issuing a winter storm watch for Haines and Skagway starting on Saturday. It's going to turn windy and bitterly cold across the mainland interior this weekend into next week. So looking out to the far west, the area that had blizzard to near blizzard conditions yesterday, Hooper Bay clearing and colder, 10 degrees. And temperatures are going to be falling there to close the week and over the weekend. Much colder temperatures have readings below zero with wind chills well below zero. Some strong northeast winds will be developing there along the YK deltas. Further inland, along the Elkhorn border, Fort Yukon, clear and colder, 5 below zero now, and you're going to get even colder temperatures on the way. In fact, we're going to have a prolonged cold period setting up across a good portion of the mainland. Starting this weekend, that'll last past next weekend, could actually potentially last up at least prior to Christmas into the solstice. But we'll keep an eye on that as it develops. In Palmer, mostly cloudy, 33. Say goodbye to readings above freezing because you're going to see colder air coming in on an east and northeast wind later this week and for the weekend. Some stronger gusty winds. Yakutat, some light rain and fog as of this Wednesday afternoon, 43 degrees. But that's going to transition over to some heavier snow here for the weekend as the colder air makes it further southward along the Gulf Coast. So we do have a couple of weak solar disturbances that will trigger G1 to G3 geomagnetic storm conditions tonight into early Thursday. So that will tend to enhance the auroras here around the Arctic and subarctic regions tonight. We have the full snow moon of December that officially happens tomorrow, Thursday, during the daytime. And for sky watchers, the Geminid meteor shower peaks December 13th into the 14th. This year that coincides with last quarter moon. The only thing is, interior areas that will likely be clear for this event, it's going to be bitterly cold with very, very cold sub-zero air temperatures and wind chills. But I've watched the Geminid meteor shower for many years. It is the best meteor shower, reliable meteor shower of the year. So across Alaska right now, we have a number of advisories, watches, special weather statements. First here, the winter weather advisory for the lower Kuskokwim Delta is going to expire as we go through this late afternoon, early evening. Still some lingering areas of freezing rain along the Kuskokwim coastline there, but that'll be diminishing early this evening. And then this swath of yellow is a winter storm watch for this weekend, starting Friday evening and into the weekend. And we're not talking about accumulating snow here, folks. This is a winter storm watch issued for strong winds, blowing snow, and very cold, dangerously cold wind chills. We're going to have very strong northeasterly winds develop across the interior, extending out here along the YK deltas. And places that have snow on the ground, it's going to be blowing snow because winds could gust upwards of 50 miles an hour, even locally higher in some of the gaps. And then you're going to have air temperatures below zero on top of that. So those of you here through the interior, get ready for a prolonged period of cold weather. Make sure you have some extra things on hand and backup heating in case for some reason your primary heating goes down. And then up here along the northeastern Gulf Coast into the northern Panhandle, Juneau Forecast Office is working on putting this out, but there is a special weather statement for this region for a prolonged heavier snow event this weekend. And they will be issuing a winter storm watch for Haines and Skagway starting Saturday, because there is going to be low pressure come up into the Gulf and a lot of moisture coming in along this region, encountering the colder air, so that means some heftier snows. And what we have on the weather map or our satellite imagery this Wednesday afternoon, there is low pressure here down and near south of Sandpoint, and there's a remnants of this front that kind of runs from around Kuskokwim Bay right along the Alaska Range. This front is sagging southward. The mechanism that was driving the snow and mixed precipitation earlier on Monday and Tuesday, early Wednesday, now is broken down. That's why you've seen skies clearing now here along the Yukon River, and will be coming into the Kuskokwim as well, leading to much colder temperatures, and winds will gradually pick up, especially starting Friday and really over the weekend into next week. So on the weather map late this Wednesday night into Thursday morning, we have low pressure south of the eastern Aleutians. We have this front that's just sagging southward. The cold air is advancing, get along the Gulf Coast. We have high pressure up here along the Alcan border in northern Alaska into the Yukon, and then another area of high pressure out over the northern Bering and eastern Russia. On Thursday, the highs just kind of extend, this ridging extends across the northern half of the mainland into northwest Canada. This front slows up and it's going to kind of bog down right here along the Gulf Coast into the northern Panhandle. And then by the time we get into Friday, new piece of energy comes up into the Gulf. This is what's going to fling that moisture in along this frontal boundary, and it's going to create that prolonged period of some accumulating heavier snow here for this weekend. Northeastern Gulf Coast, that would include Yakutat into the northern Panhandle, at Skagway and Haines. Be ready for some notably accumulating snows. And then between the highs to the north and this general low pressure that's going to be sitting over the Gulf into next week, we have some very strong east-northeast winds developing across the mainland starting on Friday. And that's why, again, that winter storm watch for blowing snow and very cold wind chills is going to run the length of the Yukon Valley and the Kuskokwim River, and especially along and north of the Alaska Range. And notice Saturday, see this low getting cranked up? Look at the pressure gradient is really tight. That means strong northeast winds. So also Saturday, those of you Matsu Valley around Palmer are going to get strong gusty winds and colder temperatures. This low is going to help draw down some very cold Arctic air across the mainland beginning this weekend. And as I said, this prolonged cold period will likely persist beyond mid-month. So looking at temperatures, you can see some readings getting down near 30 below Arctic Village here come Thursday morning. We still have readings a bit above freezing along the Gulf Coast. Still some 40s over at Sitka and through the southern Panhandle, and extending down along the Alaska Peninsula into the Aleutians. But notice you're going to see this cold air begin to head southwestward as we go into the weekend. So now, high temperatures for Thursday afternoon may not get above 20 below at Fort Yukon. And as we get out here toward the lower Yukon Delta, readings highs only in the single digits above zero. We still could squeak out a 50-degree reading at Prince of Wales Island there around Klawock and Craig. But even things are going to begin to cool down across South Central. So Palmer, you'll likely be below freezing Thursday afternoon, just below freezing Anchorage, and the colder air will continue to seep southward. And then looking at the lows Friday morning, Fort Yukon could be approaching 35 below, and you're also going to have increasing winds. Notice these double-digit 20 below or colder air temperatures are beginning to progress southwestward with the Arctic air. And we see low temperatures slipping into the teens to near 20 in the Anchorage Bowl. Back here along the southern panhandle, still near 40, but this area up here in the northern panhandle where the winter storm watch is in effect for Saturday onward for Haines and Skagway, you got the cold air in place. Now you just need the moisture to come up into there. And for Friday afternoon, temperatures will still manage low mid 40s over the southern and outer panhandle, but back to the north and west. Notice how the below zero, double digit below zero temperatures are advancing toward the west and southwest, and this is only going to continue. With that low getting wrapped up here in the Gulf, it's going to try to pull down this Arctic air further south as well as we get later in the weekend and certainly by next week. So this tells the story. The 6 to 10 day temperature outlook centered on December 9th through the 13th. Much below normal temperatures could impact a good portion of the mainland, especially the southeastern half of the mainland, centered on Anchorage and the Copper River Basin, the central eastern Alaska Range, Tanana Valley. Some very cold temperatures likely in these areas, and even in through the Panhandle, which would imply any precipitation through this region then would be mainly snow. And when we look at dry, below normal precipitation covering much of the mainland, especially the southwestern third, that just implies very dry, cold Arctic air, and throw in very strong northeasterly winds, and you're going to have some very low, dangerously low wind chills across areas of the mainland coming up here into next week. Could see a little above normal precipitation in through the Panhandle, which would potentially favor some snow getting down further south. So stay tuned to later forecasts because this is a very active early winter pattern and certainly one of the more notable cold events we've seen in a little while. So I'll have more updates coming up here both Thursday and Friday.